mouth. I think we're all here. Hi, Christy. All right, so I think we can spend a few minutes gathering our thoughts, slowing down a bit. Actually, in a way, the nice thing about being, at a distance like this, everybody's pretty much by themselves, aren't they? So probably been sitting down in a few minutes and already feeling quite quiet. But anyway, let's do that anyway. Just a couple of minutes. So let's go ahead with the refuge and bodhicitta prayer and then the foundational qualities. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened, to the Buddha, the Dharma, the Supreme Assembly. And my merits from giving and other perfections, I become Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened, to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my merits from giving and other perfections, I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened, to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By my merits from giving and other perfections, I have become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. The foundation of all good qualities is the kind and perfect Guru. Correctly following the Guru through the path. By clearly seeing this and applying great effort, it is best me to rely upon the Guru with great respect. When I've discovered that the precious freedom of this rebirth is found only once, it is extremely difficult to find again, and it's greatly meaningful. It is best me to unceasingly generate the mind taking its essence day and night. This body and life are changing like a water bubble. Remember how quickly they perish and death comes. After death, just like a shadow follows the body, results of negative and positive karma follow. When I have found definite conviction in this, please bless me always to be conscientious in abandoning even the slightest collection of shortcomings and in accomplishing all virtuous deeds. When I have recognized the shortcomings of samsaric perfections, there is no satisfaction in enjoying them. They are a total suffering and they cannot be trusted. Please bless me to generate a strong wish for the bliss of liberation. Through my being led by this pure thought, with great remembrance, alertness, and conscientiousness, please bless me to make keeping the individual liberation vows the root of the teaching, my essential practice. And just as I have fallen into the sea of samsara, so have all other transmigratory beings. By my seeing this, please bless me to train in supreme bodhicitta, which bears the responsibility of freeing transmigratory beings. Even if I develop only bodhicitta without familiarizing myself with the 3 types of morality, I cannot achieve enlightenment. And by seeing this well, please bless me to keep the vow of the sons of victorious ones with fervent effort. By my having pacified distractions to wrong objects and correctly analyzed the meaning of reality, please bless me to quickly generate within my mind stream the unified path of calm abiding and special insight. When I become a suitable vessel by training in the common path, please bless me to immediately enter the holy gateway of the fortunate beings, the supreme of all vehicles, the Vajrayana. At that time, the basis of accomplishing the 2 attainments is keeping my vows and samayas purely. When I have gained effortless conviction in this, please bless me to protect them even at the cost of my life. Then, when I have realized exactly the vital points of the 2 stages, the essence of the tantric sects, and am enjoying the yoga of 4 sessions with effort without being distracted by non-meditation objects, please bless me to accomplish these according to the teachings of the holy beings. Thus may the virtuous friends who reveal the path, reveal the noble path, and the spiritual practitioners who correctly accomplish it have long lives. Please bless me to pacify completely the collections of outer and inner obstacles. In all my lives, never separated from perfect gurus, may I enjoy the magnificent Dharma, and by completing the qualities of the grounds and paths, may I quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. So we're going to spend about 10 minutes meditating on bodhicitta and that kind of thing. So really, bodhicitta really is important because it's this determination to achieve enlightenment for the sake of sentient beings that drives you to enlightenment. What's really driving the bodhicitta is compassion. Like Chandrakirti says at the beginning of his amazing Madhyamatvatara, entering the middle way. It's important at the beginning to get you started on the Bodhisattva path. It's compassion that keeps you going on the Bodhisattva path. And even when you've achieved enlightenment, all that you do to help sentient beings happens spontaneously and without having to make a decision. Now I'm going to do this, now I'm going to do that. It all comes completely naturally, spontaneously. But still what's driving that is the compassion. So spontaneous compassion, effortless compassion. So what we need to do then is to spend some time now to bring up a compassionate attitude, remind ourselves of our compassion, try to strengthen it by because you can strengthen it all the time. In fact, you know, your compassion becomes stronger and stronger, and until you actually become, what is that for? And then it's going to get stronger and stronger. So how that happens is by constantly meditating on it. So at least, you know, every day, if not like as much as you can each day, but at least, you know, each day. It's really good to spend 5, 10, 15 minutes meditating on it each morning. So you have the motivation for the day. So thinking about the suffering of others and feeling close to them, then that's what, then the compassion happens naturally. If you feel close to others and you see them suffering, then you don't even have to try to feel compassion, it just comes automatically. So feeling close, thinking of their suffering, and try to understand it on a deeper level as possible, at least. Just around the way things are at the moment. It's unbearable. But we can find it quite bearable when we don't feel close to others. It's like things going on in other parts of the world. It doesn't matter too much because nothing to do with me. So feeling close. At least we can feel close by recognizing they're fellow human beings, and not just human beings, but like they say, fellow earthlings. It's like big brothers and sisters. So one big family of earthlings. If you just think about this planet, one family of sentient beings, all human beings, and the suffering and need our help. And one thing that makes us close is the fact that each and every living being in this country, this continent, this world, this universe is exactly the same as oneself, and wanting happiness, not wanting suffering. And just like ourselves, we have one problem after the other, even though we don't want it, illness. People getting angry, I mean, all sorts of things. It's happening to everybody all the time. They don't like it, so we don't like it. Their suffering is our suffering, no different. So anyway, try to think like that and try to feel close and try to think of their suffering, try to find it unbearable. Unbearable means you really want to do something about it, not just feeling sympathy for them and thinking it would be nice if they could be free of their suffering, but you know, really wanting to be able to free them all from their suffering yourself. So that compassion is what drives us to want to achieve enlightenment, because we think to ourselves, well, you might even be able to take responsibility, like it says in that those verses that we just recited, just like, I have fallen into the ocean of psychic existence, samsara. It's like I'm drowning in that ocean of suffering. So also all the other thinking beings. And taking responsibility. That's the real marker. The kind of compassion we're trying to generate here, which is like the essence of the Mahayana path, the Bodhisattva path. Not just feeling compassion, but taking responsibility to liberate all those sentient beings and recognizing the moment. Do that. If I achieve enlightenment, then I'll have a chance to do that. We'll be able to. On my side, I have all the ability I need, knowledge, so forth. But then how is enlightenment possible? It's because when you think about the meaning of the word Buddha, well, in the Tibetan thing that you just recited right at the beginning, Sangye Chetan Sukhasana, now we did it in English, I prefer to Buddha. So even the word Buddha, but anyway, the Tibetan word Sangye has, it starts off with Sang, so purified, implies that whoever is an enlightened being right now wasn't always enlightened, wasn't always pure, but became pure. Which means that just like us, they, like we are now, they also, their minds were, what you could say, polluted, really mixed up, really controlled by all sorts of destructive ways of thinking. People think that we need anger to protect ourselves, but actually anger doesn't protect anything. As I've heard it almost one time. All the things that you think that you will be able to achieve, or that you can only achieve because of your mental afflictions, grasping, attachment, anger, and so on, but you won't be able to achieve with them. You achieve quite easily by getting rid of them. So those mental afflictions, they're there at the moment, and sometimes it might seem like they're always going to be there, but actually, just like us, the Buddhas, they were in the same state, same mess. They got rid of, but they got rid of that mess and became pure and became, achieved kind of a level, that level of perfection. Because there's a Tibetan saying from one of the scriptures, the nature, the mind is by nature pure. And what pollutes the mind at the moment is adventitious, or temporary. In other words, something which is there because we haven't got the antidote. We haven't got the counteracting force, way of thinking that counteracts them. So let's think about that a bit anyway. Our own pure nature, which is actually none other than the pure nature of our own mind, no matter how polluted our minds, messed up our minds might seem to be, it's not fixed, it's never fixed. You can always get rid of them, and not even just for a while, but forever. Anyway, so that's spending this time this evening about understand the spiritual pathway and this amazing treatise by I don't know if you think it's amazing. I think it's pretty amazing. So now, where we got? If you got the book, now I have a copy that shows you the page numbers according to the book. If you've got the, so anyway, according to that, we will be on about page 49. And then if you've got the ebook standing up, then it's 83. But anyway, it's the 7th. It's the chapter on meditation session. And yeah. So this is all to do with practices for purifying. I suppose it's more the mind than anything, but you know, body, speech, and mind. In other words, to avoid, to prevent obstacles, so as not to have obstacles in our path, in our practice. So where do the obstacles come from? From the unskillful actions. So we need to purify those. And then we want good conditions, supportive conditions. So where does that come from? That comes from merit. So we need to create merit, and that's what these 7 practices are for. I think we probably got to requesting. Yeah, requesting. So yeah, 49 in the book, where it says supplication is what he calls it. Supplication. We might have looked at this already, so I'm not going to spend much time, but I want to just, I think there are 1 or 2 other things to say. So, you know, these 2, which he calls requesting and supplicating. Oh yeah, okay, so a bit further up. Requesting to turn the wheel of Dharma, and then the supplication. In each case, explicitly, it's more to do with requesting, as I mentioned the other week, people who have not long achieved enlightenment. So Buddhas who have not long achieved enlightenment, just like Buddha Shakyamuni, who spent some time not teaching, apparently because he thought that what he had to say was too profound and so nobody would understand, but then he was requested to teach. So we're requesting them to teach, no matter how far away they are. Then, you know, we're making that request and then asking them, those who are like maybe thinking of passing away, to requesting them to stay. So that's what's happening there. But still, you know, we do tend to think, and it's you know, it's quite correct, quite right, that you know, you have in mind your own teachers that have not passed away yet, like making a request to them to not to pass away, not for a long time. And in fact, you know, when we do the big ceremonies for long life of the gurus, then we often say, request them to stay, usually like eons and eons. Eons and eons. And yeah. Hope, you know, ask for a lot, and then at least if they stay around for a few 100 years, that'd be pretty good. I think I'd rather, you know, well, anyway, so that was, so like that. But anyway, whatever. So you're requesting to have a very, very long life and to continue teaching, which means you're requesting them to continue guiding oneself and, you know, the world. So that, and then, you know, you think that your request is accepted, always think your request has been accepted. That's very important. They always say that, and I think it's quite important. Otherwise, at the end, you're thinking, I made the request, but who knows, then it's like not very comfortable feeling. But anyway, it's supposed to be better if you think that they accept. And also, when if you practice in Lama Zopa Rinpoche's tradition, which is, it's not like uniquely his, but much emphasis on imagining. So there could be like countless enlightened beings that you're addressing your request to. And I personally, I like to think, and probably I'm not making this up. I've probably heard it somewhere, but I don't remember hearing it. Is to think, there are people around the world, and of course there are other worlds, who knows what they might themselves be, enlightened beings, but sufferers or what, I don't know, who knows. But anyway, they're guiding people, they're helping people to lead a, like wholesome life through instruction, through advice, through example, or whatever, So, like addressing the request to them as well, requesting them to live long lives, to carry on with their work, to carry on helping. They're very nice. And so, with them, the Lama Zopa Rinpoche's advices, or he always emphasizes thinking that all those enlightened beings, every holy object, thinking of it as being in essence actually one's own guru, like an emanation, one's own guru, to make it the most powerful and the most most powerful merit, and so on. Yeah. So that's what I wanted to say. That I don't think I'm not sure I said before. But anyway, then with the dedication. Okay, so same page. 49, still 49. So what does it say? It's just the next page in the ebook. So it says the limit of dedication is set forth in the stanza. Whatever little merit I have accumulated by prostrating, offering, confessing, rejoicing, requesting, and supplicating, I dedicate it all to enlightenment. I think I did mention, this when the lamas are in a big hurry, then this is the 7-limb practice. And in a way, it's quite nice, for us, especially if you don't like lots of having to recite lots of words, and something that you can, basically you're listing the 7 practices, right? You're listing them. But of course, you don't just list them. I mean, you could be on you could be on a flight somewhere, or just on a walk, or just sitting there, and you just, the word, you don't even have to say the word, of course, but I mean, somehow, if you want to memorize it, what are these 7? So prostrating, offering, just do the meditation that goes with it. Prostrating, offering, and so on, like that. And dedicating. So then the dedication verse ends with the actual dedication of all that merit. So also Lama Tsongkhapa's commentary. Yeah. All the roots of virtue presented by the previous 6 limbs, 6 practices, are made the common property of all sentient beings and never come to an end, since they have been dedicated with strong aspiration as causes of complete enlightenment. So 2 things there. It says, are made the common property of all sentient beings. So I think that this is like, I think it's very much like the way Lama Zopa Rinpoche talks about making offerings. So I've got this book here. Some of you might already have it. It's a very useful book to have. This is an old version, but it's called the yeah, it's called the FPMT Retreat Prayer Book. FPMT Retreat Prayer Book. And it's got not only got lots of practices in it and prayers. A lot of the time there is advice from, comments from Lama Zopa Rinpoche, which is always very nice. And just while we're talking about it, I think I mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again anyway, that one very good resource is actually the FPMT. So you go to fpmt.org and it's got a search thing. And the search engine on it is particularly good from my experience for just, just looking up practices and see what Lama Zopa said about them. So you'd probably find that useful as well. And actually, I also do think that there's another one which used to be called the Berzin Archives. So Alex Berzin, just like unbelievable scholar, just unbelievable. But he was a very close student of the previous Sekon Rinpoche, Senja Rinpoche. And so, well, he started up this site, with some friends, but anyway, mostly it's all of the stuff that he learned from Sekon Rinpoche and probably, his own explanations as well. And so now it's called Study Buddhism. Study Buddhism. And I think the reason is probably because, if somebody's just thinking, I wouldn't mind finding out about Buddhism, the last thing they're going to think of entering into the Google search is like Berzin Archives, right? It just wouldn't occur to you. But what you might think of looking up is, I want to study Buddhism, so I'll just look up Study Buddhism, and so then you find it. Okay, so he's very good also, very, very good. Lots and lots of things on there. It's growing. It's in about, I shouldn't exaggerate, it's in at least 10 languages. Not that we need to read in 10 languages, but I mean, it's still pretty impressive. So anyway, in the FPMT Retreat prayer book, I think it must be in your Guru Puja for the offerings. So he starts. So his instructions, his personal instruction. Easier to put glasses on. Think that you have received these offerings through the kindness of all sentient beings. Then think, these offerings are not mine. Make charity of the offerings to all the hell beings, pretas, animals, humans, asuras, and suras. So this is done to counteract the thought that the offerings belong to me. Think that you and all other beings are going to make offerings to the Buddhas, the Buddha together, the Buddhas. So then generate great happiness at having accumulated infinite merit by thinking in that way. So in other words, instead of just with the offerings, explicitly he's talking about offerings, instead of just like my offerings, I mean, you might dedicate it for all sentient beings, but at the beginning you're thinking my offerings, and then you offer it to all the Buddhas and you get as much merit as possible. Then you dedicate that to sentient beings. But here's the idea: is all of these things that I have to offer, I'm going to share out amongst all the sentient beings, and then we're all going to offer together. So I think it's along the same lines when it says here, all the roots of virtue represented by the previous limbs represented doesn't need that. So all the roots of virtue, in other words, basically all the merit from the previous 6 limbs are, you share them out with all the sentient beings first. Okay. So then when you come to dedicate, you think that now all the sentient beings and myself are dedicating. Otherwise, there's not much point just giving them merits, and then they might squat, they might waste them or whatever. Of course, I mean, you can't give your merits to other people, but it's a meditation to do it's the way that Bodhisattvas think anyway. So we try to think in that way. And then never come to an end. So I did mention that before when we were talking about the offerings, which is that any merit that you create, if you dedicate it to enlightenment. So if you dedicate it for, let's say, for example, to it could be something for this life, or it could be something like maybe for future life. Then once you get that result, that's it. It's finished. But when you dedicate to enlightenment, in a way, when you dedicate it to enlightenment, you're dedicating it to, as long as space endures, as long as there are sentient beings, so long may I remain in the world, helping sentient beings. So that's what you're dedicating it for. So in other words, you're dedicating all that merit for sentient beings forever to achieve happiness, perfect happiness, pure happiness. So in other words, it couldn't possibly, if the power of the dedication gets used up when the result has been experienced, then there's never a time when it comes to an end, except maybe if you like to think there's a time when all sentient beings have achieved enlightenment, then that's okay, but anyway, so that's why it never comes to an end. That's what it means to say it never comes to an end. If you dedicate it to enlightenment, it never comes to an end. Okay. They never come to an end since they have been dedicated with strong aspiration as causes of complete enlightenment. So then it goes on to say, if you thus develop an understanding of the meaning of those words and slowly do as was taught without allowing your mind to wander, you will gather immeasurable heaps of merit. So this is what I was just saying, really, whether you just memorize the list, or whether you memorize that verse, or you memorize the very common 7-line one, which is very, comes up a lot, or like in the King of, anyway, the point is not just memorizing it so you can just say the words like a parrot, but meditating as you go along. All of these things are meditation. When you don't meditate, they're not meditation. So people who complain about having to recite all the words, although I must admit, I personally I get a bit find it a bit overwhelming if there's too many words to recite, but it does help to think that that all of this is meditation if you take that attitude. If you don't take that attitude, then you're just reciting words like a parrot. So you can't just say that we don't want the words, we want to meditate. The words are for meditation. The words are there to get things going in your mind, to help you to get things going in your mind. Like they say, I'm sure I've said already, an old person getting up or walking along with the aid of a stick. The stick is to help them stand up. If they don't need the stick to stand up, then just chuck it away. So in the same way, we need the words to remind us of the meaning. Then once we don't need the words to remind us of the meaning anymore, because you've got it all internalized, you don't need to recite the words. You can still recite the words, but you don't need to. That's what they say. Okay, and so where it says, if you thus develop an understanding of the meaning of these words, so what it means, so he's explained these things. So think about it, and by thinking about it, you'll get an understanding of it, and within that understanding, recite, slowly do as was taught. Anyway, he's talking about slowly doesn't just mean slowly. It means don't rush. Usually, the Tibetans have this expression, kali kali, slowly. They often say, you'll hear the Tibetan Geshes, Lamas, and so on. They say slowly when they speak a little bit of English. Slowly. What they really mean is, don't rush. Just don't rush.
without allowing your mind to wander. That's obvious, you know. So keep your mind on what you're doing, and then that way you create a lot of merit. Even if you've got it all memorized, I mean, you might have the whole King of Prayers memorized, not just these 7 limbs. You know, got it memorized so you can say it without thinking. So what do? You say it without thinking. Then it is not so effective. It really isn't so effective. If you think, you know, about what you're saying, then it becomes very effective and you know, create a lot of merit. So then, to understand a bit more about these 7 and how they fit together and their connections and so on, basically. So of these 7, 5, prostrating, offering, requesting, supplicating, and rejoicing. So these belong to the collection of accumulations. I think what he means is, you know, no criticism of the translation, but what it means is, of the 2 things, you're purifying and creating merit, you're creating merit. These ones are for creating merit, creating the causes for things to, you know, work out. Then confessing purifies obstruction. So that's 6, right? Okay, then he'll say something about it. Just by the way, one aspect of rejoicing, which is the cultivation of joy in your own virtue, multiplies the virtue. So what that must mean, I reckon what this means is that, you know, when you're rejoicing in your own virtue, so, you know, you've done something good, you think about it and you think, oh, that was really good, that was a good thing to do. Not out pride and so on, but, you know, just, you know, thinking what was a good thing, thinking it was good. Then your own merit becomes more powerful. But when you rejoice in the good things that others have done, you know, have done, will do, it doesn't increase their merit. You create merit by doing it, but it doesn't increase their merit. So I think that's what that means. One part of rejoicing, which is rejoicing in your own good things, that multiplies your virtue, makes it more powerful. Then by means of dedicating the virtues of collecting, purifying, and multiplying. So in other words, yeah, all of the practices above, everything else, by means of dedicating the virtues of collecting, purifying, multiplying, which means everything else that you've been doing, however small it might be, is multiplied manifoldly, multiplied a huge amount. And what would normally come to an end after producing a temporary effect is made inexhaustible. So that's just like he said before. If it was if the dedication is limited, then, you know, it'll have a limited result. But here you've dedicated it for enlightenment, so then it becomes inexhaustible. And in brief, he says then, what you'll often hear is this 7 part practice is got two functions. One is accumulating merit, one is purifying. But Lama Tsongkhapa goes into a bit more detail. Hear a ringing sound, but I don't know if it's in my ears. I'm not sure what that is. Accumulating, so accumulating merit, purifying, and then multiplying and making inexhaustible. Okay, I think that's pretty straightforward, right? So then the 6th thing. So what does that mean? 6. There are 6 preparatory practices, right? So what are they? Oh, I can't remember. I think it'd be a little bit embarrassing if I was to try to count them, but maybe somebody here has got them. So cleaning and setting up the offerings. It's actually a few pages ago, isn't it? Let's see. Oh, I'm already embarrassed, but at least. So there's engage in the 6 preparatory practices. So this is on page well, anyway, in the ebook, it's page right. It's on the first page of this chapter. So first of all, clean your dwelling and arrange representations of the exalted body, speech, and mind. You see, I messed that up. Second, beautifully arrange offerings honestly acquired. Third, on a comfortable seat, straighten your body and assume a suitable lotus or half lotus posture, making sure that your mind is suffused with refuge and bodhicitta. Fourth, in the space in front of you, imagine the lineage gurus of past conduct and profound view, as well as countless Buddha, Arya, Bodhisattva, Buddhas, Arya, Bodhisattvas, Shravakas, and Pratyeka Buddhas, along with those who dwell in the Buddha's words. Thus visualize the merit field. Fifth is the seven, the 7-limb practice, 7-part practice. Now the 6th one. Scroll down again. So back to page 56. As the final preparatory practice with a clear visualization of the objects, offer a mandala, and with strong aspiration, make numerous requests. So it says, please grant blessings that all erroneous attitudes such as disrespecting the spiritual teacher may cease, and that all non-erroneous attitudes towards the spiritual teacher may come about with ease. I request blessings that all outer and inner offerings may be classified. So, mandala offering. So there's, well, I mean, one thing, there's a couple of things about mandala offering. So mandala offering means, in practice, offering the universe in your hands. So offering you make is offering your universe. And so, simply speaking, I think you put it like that. So well, two things. So one is that this is, you often hear this described as like the most powerful, the most amazing, the most important offering to make. The reason being that it includes all other offerings. So when you know how to make a mandala offering the universe in your hands, then every other offering you can imagine making is included in it. And then there's another thing that about mandala offering, which always made a difference to me anyway to hear, which is that what they say is bodhisattvas are never separated from their mandala set. So there's such a thing as a mandala set. So anyway, I was just thinking, it just suddenly occurred to me, in that case, it's quite easy. It would be quite easy to tell who's a bodhisattva and who's not, right? Oh no, you still wouldn't be able to. Anyway, if they haven't got their mandala set, aha, you can't be a bodhisattva, can you? So I don't think it means like that. But generally speaking, this is bodhisattvas want to create as much merit as possible, because that's going to help them achieve enlightenment more quickly. And so one of the most amazing ways to create merit is by making mandala offering. And so they would want to make mandala offering, like all the time if they can, like repeatedly, they would want to do that. But anyway, so there's such a thing as mandala set. If you know what it is, you do. If you don't, then I meant to bring mine in actually, but anyway, in fact, I could probably go and get it in a second. If you don't have one, then you can use your hands. No, you can't see, of course you can't see. So I know probably is there anybody that doesn't know how to make a mandala offering with their hands? Some people don't. So I think try to show. If I had to describe how to do it, when you know how to do it, you just do it like that. But when you don't know, then so you interlace your fingers like that. Interlace your fingers like that. So what that means is you could have like the left index on top of the right index, etc., or the right index on top of the left index, etc., and the latter is the one you want. So you interlace your fingers. Then next thing is I was trying to think about this. The easiest way to say how to do it. Your thumbs, you sort of touch the ends of your little fingers. That's number one to do. Then the next thing is your ring fingers, you make stand up like that. See, those are my ring fingers. So they're standing up together. And then the other fingers are almost in place already. So you've got your left index finger sort of a little bit hooked round, or at least touching the right big finger, and the right index finger goes with the left big finger. So it's like, now I can't do it without doing a sort of headstand like that. You see two thumbs on the two little fingers, ring fingers like that, and then where are we? There, you see, index finger round, big finger, index finger round, like that. Well, if you didn't know, I hope you know now, but you might still not know. I don't know. And what Jadarumshe always says is you want to have something, not just your hands, but like a mala, rosary, you know, like this. So then it would be like this. So actually, that whole thing, you start off like that, and then you do it. And I'll tell you what's really funny is that I was sitting there thinking a couple of days ago how to explain it. What would be the simplest way to explain it? And as I was thinking how to explain it, for a moment, I just couldn't do it. And I've been doing this for like, I don't know, probably 40 years since I first learned it. I couldn't do it. I couldn't remember it. Because when you break it down, it's suddenly, no, what happens to that? Where does that go? But anyway, so like that. So you see the rosary is on there. Okay. All right. So, and what's the significance of that? So this is something which, you know, for some people it might be a bit annoying, but you get used to it. The thing is that this whole thing, and even with the mandala set, it's all based on the flat world. And of course, the world isn't flat. So in this flat world, I mean, who knows where it came from, but it's nice to know this, and it's a nice way to make the offering. And I can tell you that whether I'm using my hands like that or using my mandala base, and you know, with the heaps of rice and so on, it's quite nice to be doing it like that with the thought of a flat world, even though there's no such thing as a flat world. I don't know, maybe it's a bit like what makes me think of some of the Terry Pratchett books, which have been made into films, which you might have heard of. So I don't know about all of them, but I know one of them starts off with this huge tortoise, sort of like ambling through space, and on the back of the tortoise is the world that the adventure takes place on. Yeah, that's it. Looks right anyway. Yeah. So you know, maybe there are worlds which are, you know, on the back of a tortoise. So this is much less far-fetched than that. So anyway, so it's a flat world in which you've got the Mount Meru. So that's the two index fingers. No, yeah, no, not index fingers, ring fingers. And the two pairs at the in front, index and big fingers, and the thumbs with the little fingers, making four. Those are the four main continents. So according to the flat world, I don't know it in great detail, and even if I did, I don't know if there would be point in going through it all, or certainly not really the time to do it here. But anyway, it's flat, and it's got Mount Meru in the world in the middle, which is where all the desire gods live, and it's you'd think it would be like this, like kind of like mountain shape, right? But it's not. It's actually kind of a square shape, and it gets bigger as you go up, according to the Avatar of Kosha. Anyway, so that's, I don't know why. It seems a bit unstable to me, but anyway, the thing is, so the way that you would do the offerings, so this is, I mean, this kind of cracks me up, but anyway, it's nice to know. So the side which, so when you're holding the mandala, the universe in your hand, so then the side of Mount Meru, which is closest to you, that would be the Ishal, east. Then the south is the Zambuling. So the Tibetans will use the word Zambuling just to refer to our world. I mean, how how the world as it is actually can possibly fit together with the idea of a flat world, I don't know. But anyway, they call the world where we live is Zambuling. So out of those four, or Jampudvipa, use the Sanskrit term. Because the idea is that, generally speaking, you have these four continents around Mount Meru, and you can't just come and go between them. So it's like they're invisible to you. So for them, it's quite normal that you can go anywhere around this world, nothing stopping you. So this whole world must be Zambuling. And what really proves it is that you see the reason that the sky is blue is that the side of Mount Meru, which is on the south, which is where we are, is made of, Vaiduria. And some people say that means sapphire, blue sapphire, star sapphire. But anyway, it looks like the consensus of the scholars, and anyway, particularly Alex Berzin, who I just told you about. So it's a beryl, blue. Anyway, if there are different colors of beryl, then it's blue beryl, so blue. So anyway, because the side of Mount Meru that's on our side is blue, that's why the sky is blue. So that proves, so that all around this world, the sky is blue, right? So that proves that this world is a Zambuling. So anyway, the eastern side is silver. So that's what. So their sky would be white, then blue, as I just said. Then the west side is a kind of red crystal. So their sky would be red. And then on the north, it's gold. So their sky would be yellow. I'm quite disappointed to hear that none of them is, that one of them is in green. I thought green would be pretty good. But none of them's green. I really don't like the idea of going somewhere where the sky is yellow. I really don't think I would like that. Red, I think maybe okay. White, also I'm not sure, makes you think of clouds. But I'm not sure. I think blue is pretty good. If you can't have green, then blue. Yeah, so anyway, so though the description is only in terms of like, one world system with Mount Meru in the center and the four continents, and there's all sorts of other things that go along with it, but that's for when you do the one verse, which mentions just 7 things: Mount Meru, the 4 continents, the sun and moon. Then it would be like that. But actually, what you can do is, and you can tell this from the Lama Chirpa mandala offering, where it talks about Jiva Tragya, so 100 times 10 million, which is a billion. So actually, although in terms of like the description and so on, it's just you see the one world system. You think that what you're offering is um, a, a billion world systems, a billion world systems. And I myself, what I like to do, I can't remember hearing this, but just thinking, because the way that, anyway, just thinking of all the worlds where there are sentient beings, offering that. And the way that Lama Yeshe, I mean, I didn't know Lama Yeshe for many years, didn't receive many teachings, but quite a few, so some anyway, some. And so the way he talked about what you're doing when you're offering the mandala gave me the understanding that when you're offering mandala, it's like you're offering the universe, which is perfect as you would want it to be. Does that make sense? So you could just say, in other words, you could just say like this, so what you're offering is a perfect universe, but perfect, you could say, well, perfect is relative. What do you mean by perfect? Well, the way I conceive of perfect, what I think is perfect, the world would be perfect in that way. I'm gonna have to find a better way to express that. But anyway, so in other words, every environment, every world of sentient beings that you have in your hands and you're offering is, for example, no pollution, no war, no illness. I even like to think people, practicing their own religion according to their own inclinations, but everybody having respect and tolerance and, loving their fellow sentient beings, like that. And that. And, so you can see where you can go with that, really, so you're offering a perfect world, perfect relative to you, perfect relative to you. Yeah. Everything being fair and just, everybody having, a beautiful place to live according to their inclinations. Some might be living in castles, some might be living in little cottages, some might be living on mountains, some might be living in the plains, in isolated places, some might be living with families, some might be living alone, according to their inclinations, according to what suits them. Yeah. Okay, so that's well, I don't think I need to get my mandala set, but anyways, so it's nice to learn how to do a mandala offering using a mandala set. So a mandala set would be the basic thing that most people would use. I mean, Lama Tsongkhapa, when he did hundreds and thousands of mandala offerings, he just had this slab of stone in front of him that he used, which, you don't. So usually with the mandala set, you put these heaps of grain and salt or whatever, and then you hold it up, so you've got something you can hold up. But he didn't do that. But anyway, the tradition is you would have it could be flat, it could be, so it's kind of like a plate. Yeah, anyway, so like a plate. Maybe I'll go and get it. Just 1 minute. You can wait 1 minute. Okay, so you need a plate which is like this. So what they say is the size of it. You see, you can't really tell how the size of it, can you? Like, that's my hand anyway. So what they say is it shouldn't be smaller than the plate you use for eating from. So this one in particular, I got in Mysore in the south of India, and I was walking through Mysore with my teacher in tech shop, and I was looking for mandala base. So this would be the mandala base. And when I picked this one up and asked him what he thought of this, he said, just right. And it actually is just right. So I don't know. Well, that anyway, so mine's quite big. It's bigger than it needs to be. Some people have quite small ones, and it does look like it's not bigger than the plate that they would use to eat from. So I think it's good to have one this size. And what I have noticed is that you don't have to go to Mysore and look through the stands where they sell the stainless steel bowls and cups and things like that. You can buy a mandala set. I think probably quite a bit more expensive than it would cost to just buy a plate, but you can't get these around here. You would have to go to Mysore. But in any case, so I've noticed that quite often when they sell them, it's made a little bit convex, and I don't know why, because then when you put stuff on it, it's going to fall off. So I don't know about that. But anyway, so this one is good. So I won't go through details of how you do it. It would be nice to have a class for people that don't know. And I have to be careful with the rest of it. So this is basically the rest of it, and it's got a big cloth, double thickness. It doesn't have to be, but this is made for mandala offerings, and it's quite handy size because it all fits in there. But I tend not to put the bowl in there. Even when I'm sitting down, I tend to scatter it all over the place. So I have to be particularly careful here. So the kind of grain you use at home in England, I've got rice, but I'm not really very keen on that because it always seems to be very dusty. They usually say to wash it first, but if it's already very clean, because quite often you buy it in the West, grains in the West, and it's already clean. So I think wheat is good. And there's another one whose name I can't remember. I've got a packet of it over here. I thought it was quite nice. You can get it in Trader Joe's. I'm going to go and get a packet of that now. Why not? So it's this. I mean, you'd have to use quite a few packets, but I had wheat before, and I've been adding a couple of packets of this because it's a similar color to the wheat, and I just didn't have enough. But it's a nice grain. It's a nice grain. So anyway, you would heat that on the plate and offer that, and yeah, it's very nice practice to do actually. It's very nice. It's very nice practice to do. You can have, try to have bodhicitta motivation for doing it, coming from compassion, and offer to all of the enlightened beings and holy beings and so on, thinking they're all in essence your own holy guru, and so you're offering the whole universe, filled with all sorts of beautiful things. And even if there's a way of explaining how you offer it, your own body becomes like the mandala offering that you're making. Like the skin is the base, and I can't remember how it goes actually. I just think in general, but there is like in the church teachings, I think there's a very specific explanation, slaying the ego, that practice, in those practices, they have, a description of how you'd offer your body. Yeah, it's a very nice offering to make, very nice practice to do. And I think it's partly because again, you don't rush. Then you're thinking, what a perfect world would be. What would it be for it to be a perfect world? And you offer that, it's very nice, definitely very nice. So anyway. So we've got a bit of time left, not a huge amount. No. Oh yeah, no, this is important. So as it says, with a clear visualization of the objects, offer a mandala, and with strong aspiration. Usually, the mandala offering, so you've got if you have that big base, and then you might have been to teachings where they do a long mandala offering, and they read long thing. So that's 37 heaps. Mount Meru. Then the 4 continents. Then the subcontinents, 2 for each one. Then there are 4 special possessions for each of the 4 continents. Then you offer the 7 precious objects plus 1 extra to make 8. The 4 directions, and then intermediate directions. And then these different types of goddess, 8 in total, 4 in the directions, 4 in the intermediate directions. Then on the top you've got the sun and the moon, and then the sort of like wish granting vase, and sorry, would be like an umbrella, and then the a victory banner, so like a parasol and a victory banner. Yeah, so that comes to 37, but it's exactly what you would offer with those 7 heaps is what you would offer with the 7 heaps. It's just the number of heaps is different. So the number of things that you're offering that are represented by a heap is different, but what you offer isn't different. So anyway, yeah. But I distracted myself. So the explanations I've heard, you don't get really sort of explanation. It's not very often you would get an explanation of what each of them is and the purpose of offering each of them, these 37 things and so on. Yeah. So I don't know why that is. Maybe it's just a question of time. But anyway, so Lama Tsongkhapa here, and also in his extensive, Stage of the Path commentary, he talks about, like, don't rush, really think clearly about what you're offering. So I think, even just thinking about the things that are explicitly mentioned according to what you understand, but also, like I say, spending some time thinking about what a perfect universe, what a perfect world would be like. And it's sort of like, see, the phrase that Lama uses is a bit funny in a way. I mean, but it works somehow. He says you offer yourself together in the way that people, people say, oh, I don't think they say it these days, but in the old days, people would say, oh yeah, he's really together person, using it in that way, right? So, and it's true, when you make the offering in this way, perfect world, what you think would be a perfect world, there's something kind of like, there's something grounding about it. Something quite fulfilling and wholesome. I don't know, it's quite extraordinary, really. Yes, anyway. So then make numerous requests. So here he mentions something which later masters have expanded on a little bit. So he says, please grant blessings that all erroneous attitudes, such as disrespecting the virtuous teacher may. So anyway, what that is saying is, you've got all of these meditations to on the path, many of which, like you only get success with the later ones when you've had success with the earlier ones. That's why they talk about, like a gradual path. So there are obstacles associated, with each one of them. There are misconceptions you could have related to each one of them. So that's why it says that all erroneous attitudes, such as disrespecting the spiritual teacher, may cease. And then the correct sort of like attitude, the one that you're trying to cultivate, to be able to develop it, and then to be free of all kinds of obstacles, outer obstacles, like people obstructing you from doing your practice, maybe attacking you while you're trying to do your practice. I mean, it could be all sorts of things, really. Maybe, like banging on the door to get you to come out, go down the bar. Maybe that would be outer. Inner would be probably, like illnesses and so on that prevent you from doing what you want to do, for them to be pacified. So in this book, in this book, on page 99, but if you've got a different version, it could be different. So it comes right at the end, actually at the end of the 7-limb practice from the Lama Chirpa. So this is how we have it in English from under Lama Zopa's guidance. So it says, I prostrate and go for refuge to the Guru and the 3 precious gems. Please bless my mind. So this is, Rinpoche really emphasizes this, very important. And I think it's because, what's the point of requesting somebody to do something for you, which actually you have to, in the end, you have to do yourself? Well, the thing is, even though, ultimately, you're responsible for your own liberation and so on, you also do need help from other people, and especially guidance and explanations and so on, teaching. So that's, I think, the point of, so making the request isn't like, I can't do it, so you do it. It's not like I can't be bothered, so you do it. It's not like, so just do it for me. It's not like that. It's opening yourself up to them, opening yourself up to their help, recognizing you need help and asking for help. Then it's like you open something else, open something up in yourself to receive their help and their influence and so on. So I prostrate and go for refuge to the Guru and 3 precious gems. Please bless my mind. I'm requesting you to immediately pacify all the wrong conceptions, from incorrect devotion to the Guru up to the subtle dual view of the white, red, and dark visions that exist in my mind and the minds of all sentient beings. So this is something you would only know if you've had some teachings on the High Yoga Tantra, where it talks about trying to access the most subtle level of mind, which is the clear light mind, and just prior to, as your mind is going towards that, then gradually it goes through these slightly less subtle, a little more gross mind, which is called the mind of the white vision, red vision, and dark vision. Put simply, radiant white appearance, the radiant red increase, and the radiant black near attainment, would be the full name. So, to get rid of the obstacles that exist at that level, and it only goes up to it goes up to that dark vision that exists in my mind and minds of all mother sentient beings. So getting rid of all of the misconceptions that exist all the way along the path. It won't mention enlightenment, because at enlightenment there aren't any misconceptions. So any misconception you might have at that level, to be free of it. I'm requesting you to immediately generate all the right realizations from Guru devotion up to enlightenment in my mind and the minds of all mother sentient beings. I'm requesting you to immediately pacify all the outer, inner obstacles to actualize the entire graduated path to enlightenment in my mind and the minds of all mother sentient beings. I always forget to do this when I'm doing that mandala thing. So this is good to do. So you whether you're doing the short version, just using your hands, or whether you're doing the whole thing with the base and so on, anyway, before you actually offer it, then you make this request 3 times. So I'm just saying so you know about it. It's not in this book, and you know, if maybe you can find it in other places, but it is in the FPMT retreat book, so you can find it in there. So you would make that request 3 times, and then there's this mantra kind of thing. It's not really a mantra, but it's some Sanskrit words, and basically it means I offer this to you, my gurus. You know, idam guru. Okay, so let's stop there. So next week, then we can start with what to do during the actual meditation session. Yeah, that'll be good. Okay, so let's dedicate. Well, anyway, just dedicate all of the merit that we created this evening, because we started off with a good motivation, you know, great compassion and bodhicitta. That was our motivation for doing it. So that, putting that together with all of the virtue and merits of the past, present, and future of myself and all other beings, including all enlightened beings. So dedicating that to the happiness of enlightenment, the pure bliss of enlightenment of all sentient beings, completely free of all suffering, and for everything else that we need in order to make that happen. Long lives as the holy gurus and so on, always being guided in life after life by them, all of us, all sentient beings, taken care of, helped, taught. Okay, thank you. I'll see you next week. That'll be the last class, and we'll try and